Hello, and welcome to One Spark Stories, the podcast where innovators, creators, and some unsuspecting risk takers share about navigating highs and lows, laughter and tears, and how sometimes all it takes is one spark of inspiration to find your way to happiness. This podcast will leave you inspired to take action on your own purpose as we connect, create, and celebrate unique sparks around the globe, once again proving that it is a small world after all. Katie Klei has been in education for over 25 years, yet it is safe to say that the way she first started teaching looks pretty darn different these days. She has been in the classroom, a principal, and even director of human resources, yet nowadays, while she is still doing some education consulting, she is now working with Beautycounter as a brand advocate. Her journey to becoming that brand advocate is quite unique, and I think it's very powerful to share because a lot of times there can be assumptions or a stigma with why people join certain brands. As you'll hear Katie share, it took her 3.5 years after being first introduced to Beautycounter to finally decide to give it a chance. And yet here she is years later thriving. After incredible challenges with fertility and unbelievable loss, she was ready to give something a chance to really pick her back up on her feet and put that purpose in her life for her and her daughter. So I could not be more grateful to have her share her story and help open our eyes and shift our perspective on what really connects people to the things that they do. And so you can learn a little bit more about these cleaner, safer beauty and skincare products that, quite frankly, I am obsessed with. So without further ado, here's Katie. Well, welcome, Katie Klei. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. So there is a lot to unpack because, like everybody, there are many layers to your story. And as I see some of my favorites behind you, one thing that I have connected with you over is the Beautycounter, which we'll get to. But Beautycounter is only a piece of your story.
Correct.
First, we met in education, and then you have had a lot going on personally in life. So, if you could give just a brief overview, introduction of really who you are, so that we can then flow into the rest.
Great. Well, my name is Katie Klei, and I hail from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've wanted to be a teacher ever since I was in second grade. I had that teacher who was amazing, and I wanted to be just like her. And it wasn't what she taught me, it was how she taught me. She just loved kids, and I know she loved me. So I went to Miami University and became a teacher. Then I went to UC and got a couple master's degrees, and I decided that I wanted to impact more than just the students in my classroom. So I went on and became an assistant principal and a principal. And I met you actually in my last couple of years of teaching when I was a fifth grade teacher at Springdale Elementary. I think, what were you teaching, first or second grade?
First grade. That was my first
Yes.
placement. I was a baby.
Yes, you were a baby. But I was leaving the teaching component, and I actually became the assistant principal there, and then moved on and was a principal for about 7 or 8 years. During that time, I ended up getting married, and I got married later in life. But then I fell upon an amazing job where I was the HR and special ed director of a local school district. And at that time, my husband and I decided that we wanted to have a baby, but it was not going to happen without science or medicine. So that's when our fertility journey started. We went to this amazing doctor locally and soon found out that it was not going to even just happen with IUI or just regular IVF, that the only way we were going to have a child was through sperm and egg donation. So with that, a lot of emotions came. But at the same time, my dad was very sick. He had always had heart disease from the time he was 39 years old. But later in life, he developed frontal temporal dementia and ALS. And so it became a priority for me to have a baby so that my dad could meet this baby before he passed. I was lucky enough through the amazing work of a doctor here to get pregnant. And it was about 4 months before my father had passed. But while I was pregnant, my doctor said, hey, you need to take care of your body, take care of your inside and outside, and make sure whatever you put on your body is safe. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? And that's when Beautycounter came into my life. And we can get into a little bit more about that. But that kind of led me to that realization with that doctor and one of my former athletes. I used to coach swimming and water polo. One of my former athletes introducing me to Beautycounter is kind of where my life took a 180-degree turn. I finally got pregnant. It took me so long to get pregnant. I was 43 years old when I had my daughter, that I wanted to be able to spend time with her. And so with education and the frustrations I had with education and the stresses I had with education, I just decided to take a total 180 turn in my career, and in my family life. And that's where I am today, really. So
You followed that spark. You embraced it. You saw it and you said, this is my time.
it wasn't without a lot of scariness, though.
Yes. Well, and that's why I'm so glad that we were able to finally make this happen, because especially with Beautycounter or any business that people immediately want to put a label on, like, oh, they're in it for the money. They want to just reach out and give a hey girl message. Your story is much deeper, right? I can't even
I
start with
can't
all
stand
that.
those hey girl messages.
I
Hey
know,
girl, how
right?
you doing?
Right. And so you have had such a pivot, like you said, that 180 shift. And yet at the same time, it all makes so much sense within your story. And really, within 1 year, your whole life changed. So we'll get more into that. But I want to first dig a little bit deeper into your story by going back a few chapters, we'll say. As young Katie, did you ever see yourself in this entrepreneurial space, or did you definitely see yourself as a teacher? What was your vision for
No,
your
I was going to
future?
be a teacher my whole life.
That was
I was
it.
going to be a teacher my whole life since second grade, and I wasn't going to leave that classroom. I loved organizational stuff. I loved kids. I loved planning. My mom always said that I became a teacher because I like to decorate and make displays
Mhm.
and stuff. So I thought not that my life that it would end in the classroom, but that's where my life would continue, was to always be in a classroom.
Yeah. Did you have a teacher that really, I mean, at second grade, that's pretty early. You hadn't had many educators at that point, but was there one that really was a catalyst to say, yep, that's it. I am going on and I am definitely going to be like such and such?
Mrs. Faye Eaton. She was my second grade teacher. Yep.
That
And then I was
fits.
lucky enough to have her again in fourth grade. Um, it was interesting because in fourth grade in our school district, you could either stay at your home school or go to a satellite school where it was more of an open classroom setting. You got kids from other neighborhoods. And so everyone at my school, everyone was going to this other school. And the principal at my school was kind of worried, like, why is everyone leaving? So he was smart. What he did was, this lady was everybody's favorite teacher. The year I was going into fourth grade, he moved her from second grade to fourth grade, and only two kids left. So
Makes a
she wasn't
difference.
just liked by me; she was liked by everybody. But she was the one who inspired me, and to this day, I had lunch with her a couple years ago. She's just an amazing woman, and like I say, it wasn't that she was like, I mean, she was a good teacher. Don't get me wrong, but it was how she treated us that made us love her.
That is just the antithesis of everything. If you aren't focused on the relationship, then nothing else is going to matter. Whether it's a classroom, whether it's your business, you have to show that you care. And it sounds like as a student, you knew that you walked in each day and you had somebody there that cared.
Definitely.
And so as you moved into your career and you had that time in education, you said you went through a couple different phases, so into principal positions and HR. As you moved on, was there a certain thing that drove that change? Were you looking for something, or was it just like, feelings unsettled? What was it that led you to keep evolving there?
Honestly, it was my sisters. I'm a very competitive person, and my family never compared us or pitted us against each other. But I am one of three girls, and we're all very close in age. We're just a year apart from each other. And my one sister was at P&G, and she kept moving up the ranks and just doing amazing things there. She was very, very successful. My other one was in education, which I was mad because she never wanted to be a teacher growing up. She wanted to be a physical therapist. And she comes home from college one day and says, I'm going to be a teacher. I thought I couldn't be a teacher then. I was so upset. But she kept doing things in education. She moved out. She was one of the youngest principals ever in the state of California. And then she was the youngest superintendent. And then she started up her own company. And I thought, I need to do something. I need to do something more. So it was pressure I put on myself that I had to basically, I felt like I had to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses were my sisters. Nobody ever gave me that pressure except myself. But I wanted everyone to not just say, oh, you're the third Klei or you're the little Klei. I wanted them to say, you're Katie Klei. And I wanted to make a name for myself. So I thought that this is one path, was to be that principal and to make a mark and to make that name, and then to be that HR and special ed director. So it was really pressure I put on myself, nobody else.
That is such a common feeling that, even with the best intentions, we put that pressure on ourselves. Like, this title is where people will value my expertise, when it is so much different than that. And all that to be said, it's funny because now you do still work with principals, you do still work within education, but from a different lens, and you help people kind of break that mindset that it has to be this way. So, you went through that, and it sounds self-serving, yet it's not at all. You were just like, man, there is something bigger here for me. Mm-hmm. So that is, I just commend you for that awareness, because listen, if you're doing it for the title, you're probably feeling empty inside.
Exactly.
Yes. So then you have this whole fertility, you're married, and you've got this opportunity now. Wow, I might actually be able to get pregnant. And then there's the caveat, but you need to start taking care of yourself in a different way. Can you tell us a little bit more about, like, really what that journey was like, and where, a little deeper into where that came from your doctor? And
well, this water polo swimmer that I had, she was always saying, hey, you need to try this stuff. And I'm like, whatever. I just didn't believe in all the hype of, when you see those commercials, this'll work or that'll work. I was always that skeptic. I even went to a party that she had, and she still to this day calls me her heckler, where I heckled at the front. I'm like, oh, will that do this or that? Well, I just decided, my doctor telling me this stuff, and he told me this not just because I was going through fertility, but because of my age. I was definitely an older mother. I had my daughter at 43. So on top of the fertility issues, my age was a huge factor. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna listen to Michelle. And granted, I heckled her a lot. But I just went and bought a few things just to support her. And I'm like, okay, my doctor says this is probably a good idea. But I wasn't one of those people that thought that, I didn't look at every single thing that went into my body, or every piece of cookware that I used, or what cleansers I used to clean my home. But I bought this stuff, and after 2 weeks, I'm like, holy crap, my skin looks so much better.
You're good.
It was crazy. Like, how much different I felt. Like, it felt smoother, it felt cleaner. I liked how the makeup applied, and I'm like, this is some amazing stuff. So I just went ahead and placed another order. And then she texted me and she says, I cannot believe you just placed another order. I thought you were just buying some stuff to support me. And I'm like, well, that's why I initially did it. But now I'm buying it because I'm actually in love with these products. So I realized not only are these products amazing, but they're doing something for me as well as doing what I want them to do for my skin. So it was kind of a win-win for me. So she's like, Katie, I've been doing this for 3 years, and you were my toughest sale. And I said, well, now you have me as a client for life. And then I finally had my baby girl. She was born on August 23rd. And I was 1 week postpartum, and I had never sat for that long in my life. Mm-hmm. I always had a summer job since I was 14 years old. I'm like, what on earth am I supposed to do? I just had this little bundle of joy. I'm like, you know what? I just decided to sign up as a consultant. I just thought, to support my own habit and to do something while I was just sitting at home. That was honestly, for lack of a better term, mindless, but it wasn't.
Mm.
It was engaging and it was actually fun. So I signed up to be a consultant, and I signed up, with Michelle, and I don't even know what country she was in. She travels the world, and I don't even know what country she was in, but she called me and she's like, "What on earth are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm bored, and I thought this would be a nice side hustle." She's like, "Katie, I've never been so shocked in my life." So it started there, and and I'm not a salesperson, I'm an educator. And that's what I liked about Beautycounter too, is that we advocate for cleaner and safer beauty bills and laws. We consultants go to DC. I was just asked to be a district lead in the state of Ohio, where because of the with the elections just recent,
Mhm.
we think a lot of things are going to be changing. And the founder of this company she's even testified on Capitol Hill. But what she wants to do is get more beauty bills passed in regulation across the United States. They've done some work at the Capitol, and they've been really successful in California, which is where our company's located. Um, but while it seems like, oh well, it's California, no, it's California because that's where most beauty products are made in the United States. So even though they have these stronger beauty bills and laws, it really is affecting us too, because our idea is that not only do we want everyone to use our cleaner, safer products, but our goal is to not wipe out other beauty companies. It's to get them to rise to our level.
Mm.
So we're hoping with these passing these laws and going and talking to Congress and our senators and congressmen that we can make this happen. So I'm just honored to be the person chosen in the state of Ohio to do this.
That's
So I'm
very
still
cool.
educating here, but just in a different way and for different
Yeah.
things.
That's exactly what was going through my mind. Like, once an educator, always an educator.
Yes.
And it's I think part of why I really wanted to do this podcast is you meet people in here, but everybody forgets that we all have a unique journey. And so how can I teach people to have that empathetic awareness? It's by sharing more stories. And so you are absolutely still educating both within the field and through Beautycounter. Now, with that, because again, there are so many brands out there, some doing, things that are more socially aware, some are just existing because somebody's on social media, right? Like
Sure.
it's all over the gamut. What would you say at surface really has set Beautycounter apart in your experience and through what science has shown?
Well, there are two things that really make me love Beautycounter that for more than just their products. It's the community that I'm involved with, and it's their advocacy. So when I joined Beautycounter, I had just become a mother a week later. 4 months later, my dad, and I was a daddy's girl, passed away. And then 4 months later, my husband, who was sick, decided to leave the marriage, never to be seen again. And 3 weeks before that, we had just bought a large home. So they say the four biggest things, life-changing things, happened to me all within a year. Plus, I started this little business. And I thought, you know what? These women that I had only met virtually at this time were so supportive, and they knew some of the stuff that I was going through, but those women have become some of my very best friends. I got cards from Florida and from Colorado. I got check-in texts. I got, hey, come out and visit me. I had never met these people before. But when I finally did meet them, which a lot of them I didn't meet till this past September, I met them and I'm like, it seemed like we'd been friends for 4 years because we really had. So this community of women is why I actually stayed, because they're so supportive. I text a lady in Colorado all the time and one in Florida, and we just laugh, and she will ask each other questions and stuff. But at the same time, this is a true friendship that I've established, and I would not have had it if I didn't join Beautycounter. And the other thing is what Beautycounter does. That yeah, they make clean and safe products, but they're a B Corp, so they think more about the planet and people before profit. We audit all of the places where we get any of our ingredients, to the point where we will only get our ethically sourced vanilla from one place in Madagascar. If that place no longer sells it, we will have to find another source, because it was really important to us that there was no child labor happening and that it was clean, because when we make a product, we test it before, during, and after. So we want the ingredients that we have to be the best ingredients too. We same with mica mines. We went and looked at all the mines, and we found this one that we felt was far superior than all the others. So we get all of our mica from there, you know. So they really go above and beyond. Our packaging, we do a lot of glass bottles, which some people don't like because it's heavier. They're beautiful bottles, but it's also more applicable or more likely to be recycled. And we also use post consumer recyclables. So a lot of our packaging has already been recycled once or twice before. So we're very conscious of the environment as well. So it's not just getting clean and safe products, it's the whole process and what we do to deliver it to everyone's doorstep.
That's a big piece of why I think I don't want to say suckered in, because it's just, you find something and it works, and my story is not nearly as compelling, but like you said before, when you try something and you're like, wow, I actually do notice a difference.
Right.
And then that mental piece that you tap on, I've used many products, whether it's beauty or fitness or, you know, athleisure, or whatever we want to call it. It's that community that can provide the mental piece of it, which is so huge. I just came back from a weekend with a group of entrepreneurs within the travel work I do. And very similar to what you're saying, we had just met, we're all over the country, and yet there is a bond there that is indescribable. And I don't know, do you have any idea what really sets that apart for you and your story and in your community? Why do these relationships feel so different from the ones that we're surrounded by every day?
Well, I think one is that we have a common passion. We all believe, because I could not work for Beautycounter if I did not believe in the company. And because I did a lot of research, my mentor did tons of research. Um, and and we truly believe in what we're doing, which for me was very difficult at first, because I had made a decent name for myself in the education field, and I thought, what would people think? Because come February of that year, I had the baby, I started this little side hustle. My dad had just passed. Come February, I'm like, I worked so hard to have this baby, I want to stay at home with her, even though I've wanted to be an educator my whole life. And it was that time where I thought, wonder if I can make this a real thing and make it like a full-time job. And it was with that I went into the superintendent at the time, and I handed her my letter of resignation for the end of the school year. Because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had the guts to do it.
Yeah.
So I did that. I started really working on my business, and I decided to become an independent educational consultant. So I do work with principals still. I train them how to evaluate their teachers, and things like that. So but I would never have done that if I hadn't planted the seed early. But my biggest phobia was, what are people going to think of me? And what I came to realize with this community of women is, be proud of what you're doing, because you are making an impact. Is it one of those companies? Well, it's not one of those companies. We're direct to consumer. You don't have to buy through a consultant. We have some brick and mortars, but I have an allergist, a doctor who I work with that sells Beautycounter. I have a nurse practitioner who works with women in their hormones, and especially I'm working with her now with my hormones because they're so out of whack. And she believes in this. We have scientists, we have teachers, we have women from all walks of life that have kind of shifted gears because they believe in what Beautycounter has to offer. So I had to get that mindset. I had to push it away and think, and I needed to really realize, when people asked me what I did, that it was okay to tell them that I'm a brand advocate for Beautycounter, because I need to be proud of that, because we are doing amazing things. And now I think, honestly, like, people know I'm still an educator, but when people hear my name, or like when friends or family, or when I'm messaging someone on Facebook about their kid's picture, they think, oh, Katie. And then they think, oh, Beautycounter. And I'm okay with that now, because they know that Beautycounter is doing amazing things. Yeah. And they know that I'm a part of that. And I'm actually very, very proud of that.
And you're doing it very authentically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between being salesy and that icky inbox message versus being very authentic. And from me watching you from the outside, I mean, you yourself, you said it took 3 years for you to buy in.
Mhm.
It's okay, but once you do, whether it's this product or any, when you have that type of commitment to something, people will go deeper. There's a level of trust. Now, I know everybody also is like, oh, it's a get rich quick scheme. Oh, these are what people want. The reality is, any type of business is hard. It is a challenge. It is not a, you send a couple message and you suddenly are staying at home with your newborn child.
No.
Could you give a little glimpse of to what it took for you to create this career for yourself with that shifted?
Yes, definitely. It isn't a get rich quick scheme. It's the, people always talk about pyramid schemes. No, it's not that. In order for me to make any money, I have to educate and sell. I can't, I do have a team, but I make pennies off of my team. If I want to make money, I have to actually sell myself. So, or sell the products myself. So I'm always in there digging. I'm always out there. I do have a social media page. I go to boutiques and set up. I do hard work behind my computer, thinking of creative and inventive things to share with people. I love to do education posts, and I can't just send out that message, "Hey, your product credit is expiring." And I do that because I don't want people to miss out on that. But that's not all. I have to do so much more than that because this business, it's just not going to happen. You have that with those 4 or 5 friends that'll always buy from you, which is great. But if you want to sustain this, you have to, it's kind of like working at a gym, or having a gym membership. If you go once a week, you're not going to make any changes. But if you work at it 20 to 30 minutes a day, you will see changes over time. So like the same with your workout is the same with having your own at-home business. I have to set time that I'm going to do work. And a lot of times what I like is that I can do it when my daughter's asleep. She's asleep at 8:30, so I'll work from 8:30 to 10:30 at night, planning what I need to plan for the rest of the week. I'm very organized. But I do virtual calls with other consultants so we can share ideas and stuff. It isn't easy, but it is fun. And what I love about it even more than anything is that I do not have the stress that I used to have. Because if I need to leave my business for 2 weeks and go travel to Africa like I did this summer working with teachers, I could do that. And I wasn't going to lose my job. I picked it up 2 weeks later and I started, reaching out to people and whatnot. And my business picked right back up. And I did get some orders while I was gone because of my client base that I have, an amazing client base. But it took me now 4.5 years to work with over 300 people that I support giving cleaner, safer beauty to. It does take time, but the big lesson is you cannot give up. You have those, it does ebb and flow just like any other business.
Yes. Good
It's
work
it
will
I
bring
wish it
good
was
work,
a quick, rich scheme, but it's not.
right?
It's not.
No, but I think that's important that we acknowledge because it's so easy, especially going through so many life changes that you were going through in that period of time. It's so easy to latch on to this seemingly beautiful option that life's going to change instantly, and then people get mad, and that's when you get the bad names of places where they will prey, and this whole idea of preying on people in their vulnerable moments. It's to me it's disgusting, but that
Mhm.
is not the experience that you've presented, nor what anybody should feel suckered into, quite
You
honestly,
can
if
be
you
as
can't believe
involved.
it.
Yep, you can be as
Yes.
involved as you want, or like I say, we have the hobbyists, but we also have the people. I wouldn't call it my full-time job, but I probably work on it 20 hours a week.
Hmm.
But with that being said, I have built a great business and I only have to do it 20 hours a week. But
Yes.
some weeks I work 40, not gonna lie, but not lately.
Yeah.
Um, but I still have to work. It's not one of those things where I sit back and let everybody else do the work.
Right.
This business, Beautycounter does not want it to be that way. They want us to support us and they want us to be able to have our own businesses, and they give us every tool that we need. But at the same time, in order for us to make money, Beautycounter says you need to work.
Yes.
You can't have other people working for you. You like every business is a pyramid if you think about it. You have your
Yes.
CEO, you have your presidents, you have your vice presidents, and then you have every company is like that. But I get to be my own CEO. I have parameters that Beautycounter sets for me, but on my private social media page, I get to do what I want when I want.
Mhm.
Beautycounter just asks that I represent them 100% authentically and that I don't make false claims. We're not a medical company. We don't do medical grade stuff. And they ask, we can't say that products will cure this or that, but I'll be the first to tell you that they make a big, huge difference in a lot of people. A lot of people have come to me. I just met a lady 2 weeks ago where I work out, and I gave her some samples, and she's like, I'm going out of town. I'll try these. I got a message on my Facebook page the next day. Oh my God, I am so glad I met you yesterday. And I knew her first name was Brandy, but I didn't even know her last name. And then I'm like, what is this message about? And then I continued to read. She's like, after one night of using Counter Time, my face looks and feels different. And if I ever read that, I'd be like, whatever, that lady is paid to say that. No, I literally just met her on the fly working out, and I had some samples in my bag and I gave them to her.
Yeah.
And she has now become a client, and she says, I've changed her life. And I'm like, well, good. I mean,
Yes.
it's just that. I love making a difference and helping people, and I'm doing it in a very different way than I did before. But I love that I get to see the change, and people come back to me and
Yes.
ask for more and ask more questions and are now believers in Beautycounter too, as much as I do.
I love that. And I'm thinking back, I'm like, I know I've sent you a couple messages like
Yes.
that because it is true. It sounds so simple to be like, of course she's gonna say that. Like, yeah, Brandy's probably her dog's name, whatever, but
Yeah.
no, this is true. I know there have been moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's actually a thing. But and all this said, not to say you have to go this direction, it's just to say that when you find something that works for you, you can go all in. And when you go all in on it, it can really reward you, whether it's with your skin or as a successful business. We just have to take those moments and really run with it, see with it. I can only imagine the fear when you first submitted that letter, because I've submitted letters, and I remember when I left education, I had zero intention of going back because I was that burnout. Of course, now, like, we both are still,
Like,
once
we
an
can't leave
educator,
it
always an
completely.
educator, right? But
Can't
at the
leave it
same time,
completely.
it's terrifying. And so I appreciate you saying, listen, it it took a while. You can't just go in and think overnight the money's going to come flowing. You have to build your reputation confidently. What would you say is one of the biggest lessons you had through that business? Starting out, looking back, you're like, man, either you didn't see that coming, or if you, as you have new people come on, that you're like, heads up, this was one of those pitfalls or struggles for me.
Um, the hardest thing I have is when I get so excited about the business because of what it has done for me. And like I said, I came from this girl who was the heckler and made fun of this, not the company, but I made fun of that. Oh, these products work. I felt like it was an infomercial. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like her work was an infomercial, but that in my head, that's what I was going for. And now it's literally completely changed my life and given me the freedoms to do what I want when I want. I went to Florida for a month and I could work my business there.
Yeah.
My mentor travels all around the world and does this. But I think the biggest thing for me is I was a born leader, being, in the education field and stuff. And I always thought that the greatest gift an educator could get is if someone stole an idea from you.
Mm.
And I just yearn for that. And I want a team, and I have a team, and I want those people to be as passionate as I am. And I have to be careful because not everybody's in the business the same way I am. And that I have to kind of rein back my excitement because not everybody is going to make this a full-time gig like I have. I have to realize, I have to ask people, I have to think about my leadership roles and how do I want to lead.
Mm.
And I have to ask those people for their goals and what they want with their business so I can support them. I'm just dying to support people and want to help them become whatever they want to in this business. But my biggest hardship is to try to rein back my excitement and my ideas and not impress them upon somebody else who has now joined and linked arms with me, that I have to kind of let them come into it at their own pace and kind of
Yes.
gauge that. But that's very, very hard for me.
Yeah. Well, when you get passionate about something, it's hard for you to sit back and be like, why aren't they getting it? But everybody will at their own pace, and that's okay.
And I think part of it is that people think, well, I don't want to have a business like Katie has because I know
Mm,
she puts a lot of work into it. And I have to let people know, you don't have to have a business like mine. That's okay. But it started out as a fun creative outlet for me, and now it's become my passion, and it's still a fun and creative outlet. I
yes.
get to do, I mean, I get to be creative, and I love doing that. So
Yeah. And that is something that's really cool is within the business, you truly can make it what you want. If you want to focus on a niche market, if you just want to look at athletes and really market the product to athletes, go for it. You probably have a line that you could think this will really work well because you're in chlorine, it drives it. Or if you just want to market to a certain generation, that's okay. Whatever feels good in any business, that's, I'll just say my lesson throughout entrepreneurship is you get to actually design what you want. So quit doing what you think you have to do and lean all into it. Be authentic, and it takes time. It'll be a little messy, but one other question about Beautycounter specifically that I have for you correlates to something that I was very proud of. I felt very cool when I read an article the other day that I use a product that I think it was Giselle uses, the creamy blush, right?
oh
It
yes,
was
the
like,
cheeky
wow,
cream
I
blush.
am trendy. I'm up there. Like clearly I look like her, right? No, but thinking of top products that you
Right.
use, for me, creamy blush and the Dew Skin are my life. I take them
Those all
everywhere.
bright sea serum.
Oh,
You like the all
man,
bright sea
the
serum.
All Bright C serum and then the mascara. So basically my face is for products, right?
But you know
And
what? Go with
it's
what works.
amazing. Yes. So what are your must-have products?
Okay. So my must-have products, I love, love, love the Counter Time line. It actually is back here. And what that is that we will not put retinol in our products because of its links to different cancer-causing agents and
Mhm.
hormone disruption and all that kind of stuff. So we have our own scientists, and they took 4 years to come up with something called Retin Natural, and it has just been amazing. You know, I'm a 48-year-old woman, and people swear you can't be 48, and I'm like, I am, and it's counted. So I always have looked young, but it has played very well in this role. But I love our Counter Time line. But my must-haves are every day, because I don't get dressed up every day. A lot of times I'm in athleisure wear, but I will not leave my house out without our Dew Skin, which is our tinted moisturizer with SPF, my eyeliner, and then our mascara, because my face just looks dead if I don't have a little bit of mascara on. So those are
Yeah,
my makeup products I use. But the what I love as far as our skincare is our Counter Time line, and I call it our Aging Gracefully line.
I like that. I like
Yes,
that.
because we're all going to age; it's inevitable.
Yes.
But we can try to not we can't halt things, but we can slow down the process. And
Yes.
I feel like this has slowed down the process for me.
Well, and even for me, fair skin, I have that red splotchy skin. I've never really broken out, but I've always had that slightly uneven skin tone. And one of the biggest things that really shook me was looking back at a picture. Because you said, I remember you were like, take a picture because, you'll be able to see. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Me testing the theory, I'm like, same time of day, same
Oh yes,
lighting. Like, I want to make sure that
the
we're not
exact
playing
same
games,
location.
right? The same
Yeah.
with like weighing myself. I'm like, same time, same, but,
Same
but,
scale.
right. It was when I noticed that it's not so much the anti-aging, it was the things were evening out, that
Yeah.
even skin tone, that when I wouldn't wear a foundation, and I really don't wear a foundation anymore, I rarely use that. I use the tinted moisturizer because it really has evened out my skin tone. So even though, yeah, I'm getting wrinkles and you'll have that, bit of sun exposure, maybe I should listen to the whole sunscreen, which that's a whole nother piece that I've loved from Beautycounter. It's just feeling more confident in your own skin. I don't feel like I have to go out fully dressed. Some of that comes with aging where you just don't care anymore, but it's nice to also be like, you know what? I actually don't look half bad today. And all I did was throw in some moisturizer.
I honestly, it's funny because you'd think since I am in this industry that I would get all glammed up every day, but I do when I'm out and about, I usually just have those two things on. And a lot of times I'm at the gym, which I have nothing on. And so people see my true authentic self without anything on. And if they still want to get it and they see that, then I figured, hey, they can see that it really is working because a lot of my sales, a lot of my clients are from my workout centers.
I love that. Yeah, that's when you're going to see the proof, right? It's not all hidden underneath layers.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. And before we move too far on, I want to make sure, obviously, to celebrate the fact that you powered through. Really, it was, I'll just say, a hell year. Like, we all have those periods of life where they're rough and you go through some stuff, but you didn't just go through it. You came out on top in many ways. And so I want to make sure to celebrate that for you. But now I want to flip it to you. What is something that you really want to take time to acknowledge for yourself and pat yourself on the back and say, you know what, Katie, you've pulled this off?
Um, Probably being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was a mom of so many kids for so long. And with a lot of those kids, I saw them more than their own parents. But now being a mother, I want to apologize to all of those parents for thinking that it was easy or that why can't you read 20 minutes a night? It's not that difficult. And now that I'm a mom, I just want to say that I'm sorry to all of those past parents of the students of mine, because while it is the most rewarding job I've ever had, it is also the toughest. And that's coming from a woman who's been divorced, a woman who has, run schools and school districts. But that little firecracker that I have is definitely the toughest job. But every day we go to bed and I know that she has my unconditional love and I have her unconditional love. And that is all we need. Everything else is just icing on the cake.
I love that. It is an unbelievable blessing of a job that brings out a chaos in life that I don't think we can truly appreciate until you go through it. And, I know plenty of people that haven't been able to have that fertility success, and yet they are still able to embrace and love and I am so grateful for you to have been able to go through this journey and again find yourself out on top.
People always ask, what are you going to tell Caroline? How are you going to tell her? And I'm just going to be completely honest. I am proud of her story. I am proud that she's a sperm and egg donor baby. I would love it if one day we could meet the donors so we could both thank them. It is something, some people would be, I'll people say, who does she look like? And I'll say LN462. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, that was a sperm donor number, and I'm being dead serious. Like people do say she does look like people in my family, but I just would love her to know that she came out of love, that I wanted her so bad that I had to go and get help from other people. But I would love to one day be able to thank those people. Quite honestly, it's a beautiful thing. And it's something that I go to bed thinking every night that these people did what they did, because I have this amazing little girl that if it wasn't for these two exact people, I'd have a totally different child. And I don't want a different child. I got the one I needed.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yes, she was brought about in pure love and intention. And I commend you for going through that and welcoming that little thing, because her smile is too big. I love it. I love when you share pictures of her.
She's a pistol.
She's just a little thing, but man, she's got a big personality. I can't wait. I
Oh,
can't
yes.
wait to see that come to life even more.
I always say she's gonna move mountains. My favorite thing to say about her is either jail or Yale. She's a very smart girl. I just hope she uses her powers for good because she's going to jail or Yale.
Yeah, you know what? She'll be running the jail. She'll be keeping it all in.
That's where she ends up. Yeah.
Yes, that is, I totally could see it. That's awesome. Well, Katie, what is one thing you really, out of all of the experiences you've had, want people to unlearn? What is something that you wish they could unlearn about really going through these ups and downs in life, or about Beautycounter?
You have to set aside what you're worried about, what other people are going to think. I went being a third of three girls, I always worried about that. And it wasn't until I put that aside that I finally found my true happiness in life. I tell people all the time, I'm a 48-year-old single woman with a 4-year-old daughter, and I do it on my own, and I've never been happier because I have the work freedom to work when I want. I can, do what I want with my child. I can be that room mom. I get to do it all. But I had to set aside what I was worried what everybody else would have thought in order to do that. Because if I still had that mindset, if I had that fixed mindset, and I preach that all the time in my class and in my schools about growth mindset, get rid of the fixed mindset. I was one that was guilty of having that fixed mindset. And until I got rid of that fixed mindset, I truly didn't know what life was. And now I'm as happy as can be.
Yes. Well, I am happy for you, and I am so grateful that we had this time. I will make sure that we share your info in the link and that others can connect with you, whether they just have questions about the business or, about just life in general, because you've had some experiences and I know you are open to
I'm
it.
a nurturer. I'm a nurturer. So I would love to, if I could help anybody with their story or their path, I would love to. I'd be honored.
Awesome. Where could they best find you?
I do have on Instagram, I'm at Beautycounter K Klei. Facebook, I'm just Katie Klei, but I also have a Facebook page, which is called Better Beauty with Catherine Klei, Beautycounter. But if you have all that information, I am happy, and I would love if anybody would want to reach out and ask any questions about the business or products or about leaving what you thought was your whole life and doing a 180.
Yeah.
Anything.
Because here you are. There is happiness on that other side.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time.
Yes. Well, thank you, Katie. I really appreciate your time.
Great. Have a good day.
Thank you, Katie, for being so vulnerable and transparent with your story. I know that this is one that will really resonate with others as well. Unfortunately, the challenges we go through in life can feel very isolating. Yet more times than not, we're not alone. And so if you feel like this may connect to somebody share this with them so that they can also hear another perspective, another experience, and how someone else was able to find their purpose through a passion they otherwise had not even imagined. So thank you again for joining us. Please make sure to rate and review, leave the feedback. It is certainly what gets this in front of others that are looking for these messages of hope and inspiration and positivity. As always, be well, stay curious, and we'll see you real soon.
Point of fact, there are more bacteria in your mouth than there are people in the world.
Later, Tater.